Hi everyone, welcome to episode 2 of my podcast. A couple of things I noticed from watching episode 1 back that I'm going to attempt to correct for you in this episode. First of all, I'm going to try and not accidentally bounce on my bed because that bounces my camera. I noticed that and thought, oh, that could be kind of annoying. What else? Look at the camera more. I do have a bit of a habit of sort of doing the old Stevie Wonder. It's just how I sort of think, I guess, is, and I'm not scripting this, so so if I am sort of looking around or looking up or whatever, I don't have some visual cue coming from a higher source or behind the camera. It's just force of habit. So in this podcast, I thought that I would talk about the topic of finding yourself, and specifically finding yourself when you feel lost, when you feel like you've lost touch with yourself. This is something that has come up a lot, not for me recently, but that I've heard a lot of women talk about in one of the many support groups that I'm involved in. And it's worth probably saying that I am in a 12-step program. So I go to a lot of 12-step meetings. I also see counsellors. I see 3 different types of counsellors at this time in my life. As well then, obviously, as engaging in, with online materials for self-development and self-help. So this is it's not a full-time job for me, but it's certainly something that I dedicate and devote a lot of time to, and that I have no intention of ever being done with, because it's historically in my life, at those times when things have been going really well for me and I've felt like, oh, I've got it, like, I've got this, like, I know who I am, things are going great, my career's right where I want it to be, or it's, and I'm heading on up, and I've got a great group of friends, we have a great social life, we've got a great boyfriend, and then I have essentially sort of thought I was cured. I actually was young at one time, young enough and arrogant enough, or maybe just arrogant enough, to believe that once you'd found yourself, you never needed to stop looking. Big mistake. That's like an addict that thinks that they've recovered and that they don't have to keep recovery on their to-do list every single day. But the good news is that, like, I think that the whole self-help thing has come a long way, I get excited by this stuff, I like seeing I like going to my counseling sessions, I like seeing my counselors, I like going to my groups, it gives me a sense of community, it's all good stuff, and it, so it's not a chore for me. It really is not a chore for me at all. And so whenever you're doing something, or you have a component of your life that you actually enjoy, and that you feel like you get something out of, and that you're glad for, and grateful for, you're naturally compelled to continue to do it. And so for me, really, like, every minute that I spend, listening to podcasts. I mean, I listened to Chris Williamson last night, and the podcast went for 3 hours. It was a brilliant podcast. I nearly didn't listen to it because of the thumbnail, but it was a brilliant podcast. And but you know, and look, 3 hours is a lot of time in the life of anybody, really. But you know, when you are a full-time student and also working, and also, you know, trying to be an artist, as I try to be, and have other ambitions, and you know, have a family and social connections to maintain, and sleep to get, and you know, need to nourish myself and all that sort of stuff. 3 hours is a lot of time. So but you know, but it was just riveting. Honestly, the discussion was just riveting, and I loved it. And so so for me, self-development will never be over. Self-growth will never be over. And my personal journey, you know, the journey of discovering who I am, solidifying my values, keeping my inventory, checking back in on a regular basis to make sure that, you know, the things that I'm doing are in keeping with where my values lie. That happened a little bit then. You know, that's not something that I ever intend to stop doing, and that's something that I will always make time for, no matter how busy I get. And I can appreciate that many people just could not possibly find 3 hours. I would not expect you to find 3 hours. That's one of the reasons why I decided that I want to make these episodes half an hour, give or take, because I think that that's a much more manageable amount of time to you know, to ask people to tune in for. So having just reminded myself that I'm on a time crunch, I should get back to the point, which is that, yes, I don't know how many times I've gone to a support meeting and someone has broken down crying, and it's been men as well as women, but majority women, saying that they just don't know who they are. They don't know who they are. They're coming off years and years of drug addiction, often, possibly having devoted themselves to motherhood, and then had their children either go to live with the father, or be taken away by children's services, and then they're left alone, and now they're trying to recover from their addiction so that they can hopefully regain partial custody of their children. But in the meantime, they've got a lot of time on their hands, and they just feel like they're empty. They really feel like they, without being able to define themselves through those things like motherhood, or even being a drug addict. I mean, as crazy as it sounds, for those of you who, out there who don't have any direct experience with drug addiction, no one sets out one day and says, I'm going to become a drug addict when I get older, but there is something about a life in addiction that gives you a sense of purpose. It gives you a sense of fulfillment. It sure as hell gives you a reason to get out of bed in the morning. And and it's very, very common for people who are extremely depressed to fall into addiction. That was certainly the case for me. And the addiction really does take away the depression. It replaces it with a whole other really fucked up thing. But So we define ourselves for a while there as addicts and maybe dealers of drugs. We define ourselves as parents. We define ourselves as wives or partners. You know, and then that's taken away, or we may decide to make a change, and we no longer have the drugs, and we are working on our relationship with our children. However, that is always, trust is a very easy thing to lose, and a very difficult thing to earn back. Not impossible, rarely impossible, but it does take time to earn trust back, and you have to have a lot of patience, and you can't accelerate the process, you know. So a lot of women, you know, come to 12-step meetings and they sit there and they wind up crying and saying that they're just lost, they don't know who they are anymore. So my advice to people who are feeling lost and feeling like they don't know who they are, because I've been through that. I've been through it a couple of times actually. You know, is first of all, if you haven't done this recently, make a list of your values. You know, the things that you really value in another person. Because the things that you value in another person will be the things that you would like to have in yourself. Now, it may well be that you already have those things, but your self-worth is so low that you know you can't see that you have those things. Or it may be that you value something like honesty, and when you look at your recent past, well, you were very dishonest. Like very few people who are addicts can honestly say that they that they were that they weren't dishonest on a regular basis. It's sort of part of the game. But that doesn't mean that you can't value honesty. It doesn't mean that you can't hold yourself to a value of honesty moving forward. And so write down a list of your values, and then rank yourself out of 10 for each value, where you believe you're at today, in terms of honoring those values in your day-to-day existence. And then the next thing that I suggest that you do is to write down some of the things that you used to enjoy doing before you had these other very, very dominant things come into your life. So before you were a mother, before you were a drug addict, before you were a wife perhaps, what did you used to enjoy doing then? What did you spend? What did you skip school to do? What did you do in your spare time? Because hobbies are a really great way to meet people. They're a really great way to rebuild skills. And when I say skills, like they may not seem like those skills will transfer to paid employment, but often they will. And if you are short, if that list comes up a bit short, or if the list is are things from your childhood, which just are unlikely to translate to you being able to pick them up again as an adult. Start just thinking about places that you like to be, people, the type of people that you like to be around. there are a lot of things that you can do for not very much money today that can help you to find a voice, that can help you to learn to express yourself when you may well have learned not to express yourself, or may well have forgotten how to, or maybe you were never taught. I mean, I was never taught. I was taught how to speak English, but I was never taught about emotions, and I certainly didn't learn emotional intelligence. I didn't. Emotions were not expressed in my family, and I grew up, in an environment in which, if you weren't okay, the rule was that you just went away and came back when you were okay. So it's taken me a long time to learn how to not be okay, to how to not be okay and have that not turn into something that bigger than it has to be. And also how to put vocabulary to the different emotions, because we all know about the big ones like, angriness, sadness, jealousy, but there are subtler derivations of all the different sort of types of emotions, and oftentimes it's helpful when we put words to our emotions, because as soon as we can identify, I'm feeling a bit frustrated, or I'm feeling a little bit overwhelmed. It gives us something that we can then work. That gives us a starting place to gain strategies to combat those things. And also it's a really good trick. It's a really good, really handy trick to be able to get so good at identifying your emotions that as soon as you get the feeling starts to arise in your body, you can immediately identify it, because then you can make sure that you don't go into the cyclic thought patterns that perpetuate and accelerate and advance and worsen your emotional state. This is how so many instances of frustration turn to resentment, for example. Why anger turns to rage, why feeling morose or just low can turn to misery, because our brains trick us. We feel a certain way, and that tends to remind us of other times that we've felt that way, and then when we're reminded of those other times when we felt that way, it triggers thought patterns in the brain. It might be sentences, it might be like, someone, usually not you, but someone that sounds a lot like you because it's in your brain, telling you that you're not good enough or something like that. Or it might be floods of emotion, floods of memory, trauma. Trauma is obviously a big one, and that can really keep us trapped. It can keep us. I was trapped in a. I spent like about 9 months feeling so incredibly sorry for myself, just sad every day. Just, not getting out of bed, crying and crying and crying because and look, the event that triggered it was something that I should reasonably have been sad about. And there was a grieving process for me to go through afterwards, and there was definitely a reasonable response that I needed to have after that event. However, 9 months later, I'm still feeling sad and sorry for myself, and over time, it becomes a part of who we think we are, and it embodies us. It embodies our spirit. So we become like one of these miserable people that nobody invites or no one wants to be around, because you're just sad. You just you're just sad all the time, like or you seem to have so many gripes with the world, or the and even very, very good friends will try to help you, but they can't help you, because at the end of the day, you can't really help someone to get over their grief any more than you can help someone to get over their anger or frustration. I mean, you can certainly, if you're talented, you can talk them through those things, and maybe help them reach a level of realization about the situation that perhaps they hadn't looked at before. But if it's gone far enough and we're invested enough in it, we won't listen to that sort of thing. We don't want to hear that. We won't hear that, because we've already decided no, we are rightfully sad, and we expect people to support us. But if you sort of put yourself in their shoes, what can they really do? So anyway, I totally got lost in a wormhole then. So I was talking about hobbies, and I was talking about things that you like to do when you were young. Art is a big one. And when I say art, I don't just mean painting or sculpture. I'm not just talking about that sort of thing. Art can be anything from making a video, taking a photo, to performance art. It could be obviously any of the traditional forms of art, like drawing, painting, sculpting, I'm sure there's another one. It could be planting a garden. It could be certainly design. Doesn't, and by design, you don't have to be good with computers. It doesn't have to be graphic design. But if you are good with computers, learn how to use Adobe Illustrator. It's fun. Also, things like dance, obviously, is a big one. And you don't have to go and join a salsa class. In fact, I did one once. But you can dance in your own living room. It's okay. You can dance in the street in front of people. Go into the city and watch the buskers and dance. Why not? Honestly, who cares what people think? Who cares? Really, realistically, theatre, acting, obviously. There are so many different forms of artistic expression. Oh, I forgot about writing, creative writing, non-creative writing, blogging, poetry. These are great ways to express yourself, to learn about yourself, to get yourself out of your own head, to begin to build something, and I suggest, that, if you can afford to, go and buy yourself a nice, if you're going to start writing, in a journal or something, you don't have to journal. I'm a terrible journaler. Like, I journal every day, but my journal entries are always things like, need to go get, X, Y, and Z from the grocery store today. I used to work with some journal prompts and things, and it was a little bit better, but I'm a very good essay writer, so if I get into a topic, and I research it a little bit, like I can write quite a good informative essay, and I'm quite good at writing quite opinionated posts, especially about things that I love, like music. I hadn't gone on to music yet, had I? So, if you're going to start a collection of writings, get yourself a nice book, preferably with a hardcover, because they just last a lot longer, and don't discard it, because you think you're no good. It doesn't matter. If no one ever reads it, it doesn't matter. And then, music. I totally forgot, almost totally forgot to mention music. Sing. I love to sing. I love singing. I'm not the best singer. It's on my bucket list. It's actually on my New Year's resolution list to get singing lessons, because I'm not the best singer, but I love to sing, and I believe that everybody can sing. In fact, I know that everybody can sing. It's just that some people are more naturally gifted than others, just like they are with drawing and stuff. And I'm not the best drawer or painter either, but it doesn't mean I don't give it a go. Sing. If you're daring, you can pick up a guitar really cheaply, learn an instrument. There are so much good stuff on YouTube, like, that you can access for free for this stuff. There are street pianos, now in all the major cities, and apparently they're in airports now, according to Tim Minchin. Like, although you probably don't want to be going to the airport just to use the piano to practice playing piano, but don't know why I thought about that. If you've got a computer, if you've got an iPhone, is it an iPad, get GarageBand, try making some digital music, or just listen to the music that you love, and listen to it with purpose. Listen, put it, really sit and listen to it, and I believe that is a type of art in and of itself. Really make playlists. Making playlists, that's what a DJ does, and I believe that being a DJ is a type of art. DJs are artists. There are so many domains that you can explore within the world of arts, and there really is something for everyone. I haven't talked about sewing or needlework. That's another one. Making jewelry making is another one. DIY around the house can be another one. There's a lot. So if you're feeling lost, look within. Remember who you were before you got lost, and remind yourself that you're not nothing anymore. You're not nobody anymore because you might not be conventionally definable as a mother anymore. Because you were someone before you were a mother, and that person is still there. You're still there. You're still there. You might be sad and broken, and you might be traumatized, and you might have hurdles in front of you, but your spirit is still there. There is still a person there that I guarantee is every bit as lovable, is absolutely as worthy, deserves happiness, deserves inner peace, and you can find it. So take a look at your values. Explore hobbies. And the last one is get connected. Reconnect with old friends, so long as they're pro-social. Reach out to family members, as long as they're not evil. No matter how long it's been, it's never too late. You might be surprised. And you know what? If they don't want to talk to you, well, you haven't lost anything. And look at engaging with others via apps like Meetup. There's heaps and heaps and heaps of stuff on Meetup. In fact, I had to disable the notifications from Meetup because it was just getting too much, and I wasn't even on half the meetups, it's crazy. So, meetups are a great way to meet new people. Community groups are a great way to meet new people. Support groups are a great way to meet new people. There are so many Facebook groups that regularly have catch-ups, including women who are looking for new friends in different areas, and they also, are regularly meeting up, meeting up for catch-ups. It's difficult at first, and social anxiety is a real thing, and especially if you haven't any practice in a while. Yeah, I know, it's scary. It's really scary, but just commit to going for half an hour. Just tell yourself, I'm just going to try this for half an hour, and then I'm going to have an excuse. I'm just going to make up an excuse. I can only be here for half an hour, so that I don't feel obliged to so I'm okay and I can leave. Start out small. Don't throw yourself in at the deep end, but start doing it. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. Start talking to people at the bus stop, Start chatting to people in line in front of you at the supermarket. Nothing serious, just, hey, how's your day been? Talk to your Uber driver. Talk to an old person. They usually really want to have a good yarn, and they're often quite fascinating. Talk to a homeless person. You might be surprised. They tend to be very untrustworthy, but they're often really interesting. And they're always really glad when someone that they're not expecting to walks up to them and smiles at them and asks them how they are and shakes their hand and offers them kindness, even if you don't give them money. Okay, all right, well, I'm going to wrap it up then. That's enough for today. Was there anything else I wanted to say? So I'm going to cross-link. I'm going to put a link in the description to the company that I work for, which is a startup. We have just launched a podcast as well, and we are looking for feedback, ideas. Yeah, we're looking. Essentially, we're looking to bring new products to market, and we are looking for feedback and ideas about the products that we're talking about. And you can also gain some tips along the way from my managing director, who knows a lot about running a business and has read a lot of books about running a business. And it's kind of funny to watch me trying to make him be slightly more friendly to the female audience. So I'll put a link to that in the description box. Yeah, hope everyone has a great week, and I'll see you in the next one.